And the people out, the Carolina Panthers choke on national television at Santa Clara again. Oh, we might have a coaching problem. When I watch Panthers Post, thanks for joining. Before I get started, make sure you check out queenandcotton.com. 10% off. Go to post10. It's almost Black Friday on Friday. Get yourself, get your loved ones, get your pet, get your kids, everybody a shirt that represents not just the Panthers, Charlotte FC, the Hornets, and just all things Charlotte. It doesn't have to be sports related. queenandcotton.com. It is a mom and pop shop. You can go to North Davidson right now. It is not just some offshore thing. You can go there. You can buy shirts, use the code, get 10% off, and they'll crop your t-shirt for free if you want. All right, let's get to the game. If you want to call it a game. It was a drunk game. It was a weird game. The Carolina Panthers lose 20-9 to the San Francisco 49ers. And boy, oh boy, talk about just finding a way to lose. This Panthers team, as I've said for weeks now, I think I've realized this after the New Orleans game, after beating the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau and then coming home up against a horrid New Orleans Saints team. Get just embarrassed at home. They trounced the Atlanta Falcons again. They beat them. They sweep them. You got Kirk Cousins starting. You got Raheem Morris on the firing squad list. And then you're up against, albeit one of the blue bloods of the National Football League and the San Francisco 49ers in primetime Monday Night Football, the first time they've been in primetime since 2023 when I was just a dad of one. And, their youthfulness, their inexperience was put to the test. And they showed us that this is an inexperienced team. It's an inexperienced coach. And albeit some moments in there that showed that this team was ready for the big show, ready for the big time, ready for prime time. There's a couple guys who did, obviously. At the end of the day, this is a young team. This is a developmental team. We would love for them to be a wild card team. That is something I predicted in the offseason. Maybe we're being too generous. Still being too generous, but there's still a possibility. And this is such a weird team. They go back home. It's going to be a short week. They're going to be taking on the Los Angeles Rams, who are arguably the best team in the NFL right now. And you could just almost see, why wouldn't the Panthers beat them? Why not? Just find out the mistakes they made in this game and just reverse it. And there you go. That's a winning team because they had moments to win that game. So many. Brock Purdy, I mentioned this in the preview. He's still coming back. A lot of people out there wanted Mac Jones to continue playing. He was 5-3. Brock Purdy coming back from an injury. He's kind of like Bryce Young in terms of stature, his arm strength, everything. And who are his weapons? Jawan Jennings. He got the first touchdown of the game, but I really put that on the defense. He had three guys on one. They couldn't get him down for some reason. But he has Christian McCaffrey, who is an absolute beast, generational running back, receiver, whatever you want to call it. I still remember him taking Luke Kuechly's soul during training camp in his rookie year. And then you have George Kittle, who wasn't really killing anybody. Ricky Pearsall wasn't really much of a threat. And Brock Purdy showed that he's still rusty. 3 interceptions. 2 to J.C. Horn. Like, J.C. Horn, if he made the Pro Bowl last year, and this should solidify him to make the Pro Bowl for the next 3 years. Just ridiculous awareness. He is just, I don't know if Ejiro Evero has given him free range to do whatever he wants now, but he is just roaming the field like Troy Polamalu and just being a center fielder out there. Absolutely amazing. We'll see how he's doing because we lost him along with Chandler Zavala, along with Corey Thornton, and I forget who else, but some key pieces of our team were lost today on top of the team itself losing on the scoreboard. But not only did J.C. Horn have 2 picks, like massive picks, especially one where he should have tackled Jawan Jennings. He was part of that 3-on-1 in that opening drive touchdown. He made it up with the interception on the very next play, putting the Panthers in prime position. I'm going to get to that. And then he had Mike Jack also with a pick in the end zone. And then soon after that, the third pick of the game, the second pick for J.C. Horn, it looked like he was holding that football like a piece of bread. I thought he was going to take it to the house. He did not. The Panthers also, their offense did not take it to the house. They look like they're ready to play. The defense was ready to play. I think all of us, including yours truly, needs to say sorry to Ejiro Evero. Once he got the personnel, and that is something that Dave Canales, give him credit for, might be the only credit I give him in this show, is he said, hey, he trusts the 3-4 and, just get him the personnel because he just really wasn't given that. He was given nothing last year due to injuries or whatever, just lack of talent. And this year, those guys have shown up. And yes, the tackling was horrid again to start the game. Back to that Jawan Jennings touchdown. Christian McCaffrey could make anybody miss. There were just some bad tackling happening at the beginning of the game. But again, that just goes back to the inexperience of this team. The bright lights, maybe a little bit too bright for some people on this squad. But the defense held this team to 20 points, and they had some garbage time touchdowns. At the end of the day, the defense was completely obliterated in terms of injuries and exhausted because the offense wasn't doing anything, and that led to something like a Christian McCaffrey 12-yard touchdown run. And so those things happen. That was like Panthers 2021-22. We had no offense, and the defense was absolutely gassed. And eventually, towards the end of the game, that bend but don't break eventually did break. So the defense did what it had to do. Like, it gave the offense chances, like a pick in the red zone, another pick in the end zone, and then another opportunity to turn it around, and then another one from J.C. Horn. That led to eventually 3 points. But the first two, like, the Panthers should have been up. They should have been up to start. They should have been up. And they just weren't, because the inexperience on this team to take advantage. Like, they maybe at that point, I didn't look at the live win probability graph on ESPN.com, but I guarantee you, after that pick in the end zone, and you had an opportunity to tie this game up at 7 apiece, the Panthers must have had a pretty greater than 60% chance of maybe winning that game, especially after the third Brock Purdy pick. I know the Bryce Young first pick was absolutely awful. I'm going to get to that. But Brock Purdy, there were fans at Levi Stadium calling for Mac Jones. And they believed in Brock Purdy. He stayed in there, but you could have said he played arguably worse than Bryce Young. 3 picks, just trying to gift the Panthers the win, and they just could not seize the opportunity. The lights are too bright. The lights are just too bright. So let's talk about the offense. What a weird team. What a weird freaking team. You come out, you explode 448 yards. You surpass Cam Newton in terms of the franchise record for yards in a game. 10 yards per pass attempt, down to 5.9 yards per pass attempt. Not that far behind for Brock Purdy. So I'm not saying Bryce Young was completely played off the field, but this offense just, X is not a real place, but I believe the people who are on it, whether it's Edgar Salmingo, Real Ball Watcher, these guys just completely perplexed. Mike K said, the Panthers won the turnover battle, only got 3 points out of that, and maybe the most curious offensive game plan he has ever seen all season. Just going back to that J.C. Horn pick in the red zone. You would think instant touchdown. You got Rico Dowdle. You got Chuba Hubbard. Just run the ball. Just run the ball. As much as you had first and goal, and you had Bryce booting, and mind you, Bryce probably a better athlete than me, 100% better athlete than me. Could have run in for a touchdown right at the corner. But no, he threw the ball, and it was picked off over the shoulder by 27 with the Niners. He had 2 interceptions, by the way, at the end of the game. But you have Rico Dowdle right there. You had 4 chances to slam him or Chuba Hubbard or, heck, I don't know, Tommy Tremble at fullback. You could have done anything. Just run the damn ball. It would have been a tie game. Completely different complexion. When Bryce Young threw that pick, and that's on Bryce too. Sure, he has a play to execute, but he threw the pick. He threw the pick, and that completely changed the momentum in the game. And it just gave us a bit, that plus the 3-on-1 inability to tackle Juwan Jennings. That just showed me an early preview that this team's not ready for the big time. This team's not ready for prime time. The lights are too bright. Panthers are going to Panther. They're inconsistent. They're an immature team, immature play caller, getting way too cute when the lights are bright, and just nuts, just absolutely nuts. That was one of the very first of many backbreakers with this team, and the approach on offense or lack thereof, lack of identity, just lack of any idea or game plan in trying to attack this team. Rico Dowdle was rushed 6 times. 6 freaking times. And they also were missing their linebackers. They also were missing their edges. And if you're not going to run Rico, you're not going to run Chuba, who looked good in the screen game. We were throwing screens left, right, and center to Chuba Hubbard. At least Chuba looked good. He was catching the ball, finally, doing his thing. But you run them 6 times and 3 times respectively. Okay, so then they're shutting down the run. That's kind of the game plan against the Panthers. Let Bryce Young beat you. Okay, let Bryce Young beat you. So Bryce, go beat them. Bryce throwing screens to Chuba Hubbard. There's, again, 5.9 yards per attempt in the air. His only downfield pass was to Tetra McMillan for a touchdown, and that could have been also a bit of the game too. But by that point, the defense was so beat up, so demoralized, and so devoid of talent. We're on, I think it was Chal Smith-Wade at cornerback after Corey Thornton went down. Cherilus went down as well. So we're on our 4th or 5th linebacker, just beating the F up. The D-line, which we know that got the most investment, they kept this game kind of close. They stayed healthy. We already know the offseason. It's like corner, linebacker, that's going to be the focus in the draft and free agency. But back to Dave Canales, like, I don't know, he choked. He choked so hard. I thought maybe being in his home state, I thought Tetra McMillan, I thought Bryce Young being in their home state. I know it's Northern California, not Southern California. I thought they'd make him feel kind of good, smell that ocean breeze. And it just, I don't know. I haven't seen any of the post game, how Canales read that game from the field level, because it's easy for us to say on TV, but you're running, like, are you a running team? So if you're a running team, run Rico. And when he did run, he had success. Chuba Hubbard had success. And if you're going to put it in Bryce's hands, put it in Bryce's hands. Stop with the boots. Have him climb up the pocket. We literally saw him do it just over a week ago against a division rival. Those are supposed to be tight games. And Bryce showed us that he can air it out. Tetra McMillan showed us that he can air it out. I will say, T-Mac, a couple drops there. Maybe the lights were a bit too bright for him as well. Xavier Leggett, still young, but gosh, zero awareness. Seemingly catching a ball for a first down. Foot went out of bounds right before. That was negated. I thought they had something going with a nice first down catch and run from our boy. Oh my gosh, already forgot his name because they barely use him. People are going to yell it at the screen. But either way, it was just a strange letdown, but also not unexpected. I said that in the video. It's either going to be a continuation from last week or it's going to be a letdown. And Panthers are going to Panther. They're going to do what they have to. They're going to do what they do. They're just being inconsistent. And in games where they are required to step up, where the lights are now physically, the whole country is watching. You're not being tucked away in the 1 p.m. Eastern slot. You're in prime time. Buck and Troy are calling you. You got, Scott Van Pelt doing the halftime and post-game show. Everyone's going to break down what you do. Everyone's going to break down what you say, how you walk, your body language, all that stuff. The pressure is on you to perform in front of everybody, and they just can't handle it. They couldn't handle it. San Francisco 49ers, they handle it better. They're a veteran team. They got a veteran quarterback. They got a veteran head coach who has been a loser for a good period of his life as a coach, and he knows the ins and outs of the game. He comes from football family, and they have the grit. They faced the adversity. They played clean football. I think they only had 2 penalties for 9 yards, 20 yards, something like that. They didn't beat themselves, minus the picks, but they didn't panic. Brock Purdy's still airing it out, still finding holes in the defense. They still fed it to Christian McCaffrey. They still fed it to George Kittle. They didn't lose their composure. I felt like the Panthers, from Dave Canales, he leads the way. They lost their composure, and they kind of lost the plot, and they kind of lost themselves. And even during halftime, didn't really come out with anything different, didn't try anything to try to confuse this team. No pre-snap motions, nothing like that. He didn't move Tetra McMillan anywhere. Their cornerback is 5'8" on the nickel, and he didn't have him going to the slot. And again, it just goes back to, what is this team? What is this team? I know it's a week-to-week league, and so it was a week-to-week league. You had a couple days, 1 day extra, really, to prepare for the San Francisco 49ers. So what was the plan? What was the plan exactly? You weren't down 17-0. You were down 7-0, and you were in the red zone, and you decided to get cute. And you're in the red zone again. We're scoring through screen passes. And then there's a penalty on a 2-point conversion on the eventual touchdown from Tetra McMillan. You decide to pass it again instead of running it in from Rico Dowdle. Like, Rico's on the field, on the sidelines, calling plays that resulted in touchdowns. It could have been a touchdown if his foot was in bounds. Listen to the man. Like, I don't understand. I just don't understand what the game plan was. I look forward to hearing what Dave Canales has to say about that. But this is kind of, in one way, it's great. We're in mid to late November in a Monday Night Football game, which they haven't been in a while, and the results actually mattered instead of just being a completely wash of a season. But at the same time, it's disheartening to know that, you know what, this team isn't ready. It's still not ready. It's the second year of his new time head coach. Bryce, I don't know how it works. Like, I don't know if he has override capabilities when he thinks the play sucks. Like, you're first and goal, you're being told to pass the ball, roll out, pass the ball, and can't you just call an audible and run Rico up the middle or something like that? I don't know. I don't know what he saw. We know Bryce is good. We saw what he did last week against the best passing defense in the NFL. That is not who the Niners are. And we know he could be good. But Does he have no autonomy at all? Like, he has to listen to what coach says. Coach calls a bogus play on when Bryce knows that he can air it out. Is he not allowed to call an audible? Like, no. I'm seeing what I'm seeing right now, and I'm going to air it out. I'm not going to play safe. I'm going to do this. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a trust thing again, going back to the trust narrative. Does Canales not trust Bryce? Does Bryce not trust Canales? I don't know. If he doesn't trust Bryce, run Rico. How do you not trust Bryce? You don't trust him to throw it down the field, but you also aren't giving it to Rico Dowdle or Chuba Hubbard. We know this offensive line is beat up. We lost Chandler Zavala again. Should this guy be playing football? I don't know. I don't think it's safe. We know they can be road graders. Just be road graders. Robert Hunt reportedly coming back at some point. That's going to be a big boost to this team because Zavala is a liability, health-wise, and also play-wise at times. But this is just, it's unfortunate because, yes, it's nice to have games matter in November, and they're still going to matter. They're still 6-6. The Bucs could potentially lose Baker Mayfield for a week. Of course, he's going to get healthy when he plays the Carolina Panthers. But, they have a tough test. They got the LA Rams at home. But again, knowing this team, they're somehow going to win because the Rams are going to overlook the Panthers because that's just what happens. And they're going to win, and then they're going to go to New Orleans. That's a winnable game. The first game against New Orleans was a winnable game in Charlotte. We know how that played out. And then you got a bye week somewhere there. I think after the Rams game, you got the bye week, and then you go to New Orleans, and then you take on the Seattle Seahawks. The Bucs, Seahawks, Bucs. There are still games out there that you can win. And I thought this was one of them. They literally, you had it. As Ron Rivera said, missed opportunities, and that's the worst part. And I don't know if that's just a lack of execution from Bryce, the receivers. T-Mac had some drops. That's going to come with an experience. Again, national TV, that's when that kind of kicks in. The lack of experience there, the lack of composure. But also a coach, like the game plan, the preparation. We know that this has been a problem this year, the lack of preparation into games. I don't know what it was like. Maybe we're going to hear from somebody in the locker room, Scorton or Tremble or Aquanu. Maybe someone's going to spill the beans again. Maybe coach them up. Maybe don't say that. I'm going to prepare you how to not talk after the game when we lose. But maybe someone's going to squeal saying that they weren't prepared for this game. They didn't know what to expect. There was no real plan. They thought they can just continue on what they did against Atlanta. That's not going to work. Was there a game plan? What was the game plan? Because what's the game plan against a much better Los Angeles Rams team, which a much better defense. Defensive line is going to be stacked. They're good to go. And they got Puka Nacua. They got a good running back, and they got potentially the MVP playing quarterback. And they got a crazy head coach where everyone's trying to pick off from his coaching tree, and he's just a madman. And so another tough task against them. They're going to need that bye week to get healthy, hopefully get Robert Hunt back, because you got a stretch of New Orleans, Tampa, Seahawks, Tampa. Season's not done. You can still obviously surpass. You already surpassed last year's win total. You can still punch your ticket into the wild card, depending on how those other guys do. But you got to focus on yourself. It's too bad they lost in the way they did, but I think if you gave truth serum to any Panthers fan, they would tell you that they kind of thought in their head the Panthers do have it in them to choke on the national stage, and they did. On the play calling side, not giving the defense the flowers for doing what they did. They came to play. The defensive line came to play. Mike Jack, friggin' J.C. Horn came out to play. Hopefully guys get healthy because they're going to need it. They're going to need both those guys against Puka Nacua and try to keep that offense at bay. It's just young team, developmental team. They're going to make these mistakes. It's just too bad. And I hope that they learn. That's what young teams do. They learn, and then they take on the Rams, and then they're somehow going to win. I think we know that. I think we know that's what's going to happen. They're going to win. And then we're all going to be hyped for 2 weeks, and they're going to go to New Orleans, and who knows what happens. Who knows? Let me know in the comments below. Are you bummed out? Are you bummed out? Or are you just kind of like, I kind of knew this was going to happen? It was fun to be all hype and excited about primetime Panthers. Woo! Getting all the cool edits, all the cool camera angles, all the cool graphics. Everyone's talking about us. Mainly trolling us. Yeah. Buck and Troy mainly trolling the Panthers the entire time. It's kind of annoying. So let me know. Who are you blaming this on? Canales? Bryce? Let me know in the comments below.